Welcome to week 1 group coaching. And my goal for group coaching is I am always monitoring the course itself for comments and questions and things. And I, do my best without, driving myself crazy to answer any of those questions that you have in the course and in the Facebook group. But I also kind of look at them to kind of find out what the pulse is of our cohort. What are the things that keep coming up regularly? And those are kinds of things that I like to address in the group coaching calls. But of course, I also go to the, ask a question form, and I have went there already, and I have them at the end of my presentation. So I'll answer all those questions that come into the form at the end of this. But you guys are here live with me, and so I figure, do you guys have any questions about what you are currently working on that you want me to answer? Because we got about 4 minutes before, it's 4 o'clock my time. And so I figured I'll just see what you guys got. All right. So Liz says, I want to confirm the difference between the coaching and the mentoring. So the mentoring, of course, is smaller. You guys probably show up on camera. You can ask questions live. It's usually mostly Q&A. And then you have that mentor that you stick with throughout the entire academy. So my group coaching, it's more about like just-in-time training. It's questions that you specifically want to ask me. I'm another resource, but it's in webinar format, right? So, and mentor sessions are more personalized. You have a built-in accountability group, and you have somebody that can answer your specific questions and follow up with you. So Cheryl asks, do I recommend getting more than one domain name? And so your goal, right, in Do It Messy is to get one domain and just go with it and start to apply. And if you need to add more domains, or if you plan on being a freelancer and you want to do that under a whole brand and website and all those kinds of things down the line, those are kinds of things that you will discover your niche and how you want to brand yourself to target specific freelance clients later on. And so if you already kind of know what you want that name to be now, then I would encourage you to get your domain name, but you only need one. I mean, really, honestly, if you don't want to buy a domain name and you just want to have sites.google.yourname, whatever, that's also fine. But if you want to buy more than one domain name, by all means. I mean, I buy lots of domain names. As a matter of fact, I buy domain names for my children. So I am probably a bad person to ask, like, should you buy more than one? I'd be like, yes, get them. It's like digital real estate. But you don't need to buy more than one domain name. But if you are like coming up between like, should I buy, somebody has one already that's like Bridge the Gap Learning, or should I buy my name? I would recommend that you buy your name if your name is pretty common and it's available, because you always kind of want your name. There's a lot of reasons why you'll want your name.com. Like if you want to go into freelancing, if you want to make it really easy for people to search and find your portfolio by your name, it always helps to just have your name in the domain name. But if you want that other one, like Bridge the Gap Learning or whatever, then by all means, like get it if you want to. But my goal for you is just to have one and be done and move on. But if you got the extra cash, you want the domain, by all means, get it. I mean, I bought one for my son recently. It's donutsfordinner.com. And that's like what he wants his like YouTube channel to be and whatever. So I buy domain names whenever I come up with an idea. So that's how I look at those things. Colleen says, so I'm thinking about topics, and I've been doing academic coaching and teaching for the last 5 years. So can I use assets I've made and I'm still currently creating? Heck yeah, you can, Colleen. As a matter of fact, one of the Do It Messy challenges, or part of that jumpstart, is to repurpose content that you have already created. But of course, that also means like if you are currently creating content for another purpose, then by all means, please use it, because that is absolutely, that's a topic, that's something you're a subject matter expert on, and it's going to make it really easy for you to build portfolio assets. The only thing, of course, also that I recommend is that you don't include assets that are targeted towards, young learners. Instead, you want to create content for adult learners. So you wouldn't necessarily do your teaching topics that you do for, secondary K through 12 or whatever education. Instead, you want to stick to, if it's academic coaching, if those are for adults, then that would work. Now, I've had some students contact me, and they told me that they want to go to corporate instructional design, but they want to build curriculum as an instructional designer for K through 12, but in a company. And so if that's the case for you, then what I recommend to students is that you still build your portfolio the way, that we recommend in the academy, but in addition to like e-learning, ILT, whatever, have another link that goes to K through 12 curriculum or whatever, so that they can go to that and get to a different landing page that has maybe your teaching resources or whatever kind of portfolio you would build to show that you are able to build curriculum for that audience. So you can have it on your portfolio, but you just want to separate it. After a first round interview, should we try to prepare a portfolio as quickly as possible in case they want to talk again? Can you talk in general about how to use our thank you email or any other follow-up to try to show that we are worth that second interview? So if you've had a first round interview, then, I would recommend that, sure, whatever you can do to prepare your portfolio before the next one, by all means, go ahead and do that. Of course, it's also going to help you for your future interviews. But the most important thing that you want to prepare for your second interview are those interview questions and having your STAR responses, right? Your situation, your task, your action, and your results. And so that's really what you want to prepare. Yes, a portfolio, but really if you could just create one really good sample for your portfolio instead of trying to do a bunch of little things, that will be more valuable. So for instance, if you don't have anything in your portfolio and you've already interviewed for an instructional design job, then maybe it's going to be better for you to just focus on one thing, which might be develop a RISE course and get that done before your second interview, instead of trying to put together a portfolio that doesn't have, an e-learning asset in it. It'd be more beneficial for you to develop a RISE course and have that done than to have a website done. Okay, I hope that helps. As far as, can I talk in general about how to use your thank you email? So I think there are templates in the interview section for thank you emails, but really all you want to do in your thank you email is say a couple of things. You want to say, thank you so much for the time that you took to interview me about X position. And then you recap some type of thing that you discussed in your interview that you can also tie back into why you're a great fit. So during our interview, you mentioned that your team really thrives on collaboration. And I really appreciate that value of your team, because that's one of my core values as well. I love collaborating in the instructional design process, and I've had a lot of experience on it or whatever. So I'm just kind of like pulling things out of on the top of my head, but you just want to connect. You want to say thank you. You want to connect to something that you specifically talked about in the interview and connect that to why you're a good match for their team. And of course, that's it. that's all you have to do in your thank you. I've seen some really good thank yous as well. I've seen like Jessie Matheson, she's one of our Academy coaches. She created a nice little custom thank you in Canva and sent that via email. And so that's like a little digital card. And that's another great way to kind of stand out, show some design and visual design skills and some thoughtfulness. So that's just another extra tip. Typically, how long does it take to land a job? I'm a teacher and I cannot start until June. So when should I begin applying for jobs? So I've been seeing in the Academy, it usually takes anywhere from 3 weeks to 3 to 4 months. And once you start getting interviews, you usually have to go through 3 to 4 interviews, and that includes an assessment of your instructional design abilities and how they, specifically match to their role. And so that can take about 3 weeks. I'm sure somebody can type in the chat how long it took them from start to finish, but it usually takes about a month from the time you have your first interview till you finally get that offer. Sometimes it can happen faster, but expect it to take about a month. So if you're going to start searching if you want to start in June, then start at the end of April, middle of April, early May, for sure. If a new small business asks about safety OSHA training, can we build in or point to some outside content? So you can build in or point to outside content like YouTube or whatever as a part of your design. It's better though to have videos that you create yourself and host inside, because what if that creator takes the video down? Then you're going to have to update it, or they've got a hole in their course now. And so, and then also you want to make sure that course is not something that somebody is paying for, because you can't put YouTube videos as a main component of a paid course. It's against their terms. But if you want to include like links to outside resources, it's better to just include them as links outside of your course or in the resource tab of your course, so that it can be updated easily. Somebody says, if the kickoff meeting reveals that the project is not a good fit, how do you professionally turn down the opportunity? This is a really good question. So if somebody says, I want you to build an entire, I'm just going to go with the online library, you will say, I only have, 2 to 3 weeks to devote to building a deliverable for this project for free. And so I could probably get one lesson done for you. And of course, if it's something that you just really can't do, because just for some reason you can't even do a piece of it, I would just say, while my intention was to build this course for you, I see that your project and scope is just beyond what I'm able to do to meet my goals and even to meet your goals, because your goals are X. And so I can refer you to somebody that could do this for you for a fee, but I just won't be able to take a project like this on. I would just be very transparent, right? Just be really clear. Like, I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me. And while I could build a piece of this, I'm unable to do the whole thing. And if that's not something that works for you, then I understand. And I'll be on my way or whatever. Yeah, just tell them. Okay, what types of test activities would they have us doing during the interview process? I actually have a lesson in the Academy that gives examples of the types of tests that you would be asked, but they could ask you to do any single piece of the process for instructional design. They could ask you to build a presentation. They could ask you to come up with questions that you would ask a subject matter expert based on some kind of content. They could ask you to build a quick e-learning course. Like they could ask you to write an outline. They could, I mean, anything that you are doing in the academy is preparing you for the types of assessments that you will go through in an interview. Our trainer guides required for ILTs. I'm working on a volunteer training for a very small nonprofit in my community. Woohoo! They have requested a PowerPoint type training. I am creating as a presentation in Canva. Do I still need to include a trainer's guide, or would presenter notes in Canva program be acceptable? So Kelly, yeah, you could include notes in the presentation as your facilitator guide, but the reason why you want to build a facilitator guide is because a lot of companies focus on instructor-led training and they require facilitator guides for that, right? Because they want any trainer to be able to pick up that presentation and to have consistency across the delivery of those materials. And so while, you know, your nonprofit may not require a facilitation guide, I would encourage you to build one for your portfolio, and it'll be a benefit for them. Even if you just do kind of like a bare bones facilitator guide, right? Like here is kind of like the outline of the presentation. Here are ideas for activities. Here's some ideas about what you should say, and a time estimation for each section. That's so easy facilitator guide. I have templates in the resources. And so that would also help you build out your facilitator guide. Because the other thing is too, you got to think about who's going to be the trainer for these instructor-led trainings. Are they going to be people that are familiar with Canva? Are they going to be people that are going to be able to find your notes in the Canva presentation? Maybe not. You could, if you built it if you built it in PowerPoint, and put the facilitator guide in the notes of the PowerPoint, that would work better than putting it in the comments section of Canva. So, you know how you can, on the pro version of Canva, you can download it as a PowerPoint presentation, and then you can put the notes in there for the facilitators. That also would work. So, how do you get coach feedback? So here's the Academy feedback. Give feedback. Oh yeah, this is where you get the feedback. And then if you want Academy coach feedback, after you've submitted it to your peers and implemented their feedback, you can do it right here. This is where you get Academy coach feedback. Can I use any of the multiple videos I created in Camtasia for my portfolio if the content is aimed at teenage learners? Well, you already got Camtasia videos done. I would just make sure that you have a video for adult learners. Maybe pick the very best of those Camtasia videos, because it's not about quantity. It's about quality. And have those videos that you created for the teenage learners, have they gone through feedback through the Academy and from our coaches? I would recommend that as well. So I wouldn't just throw it up there because you already have content, right? Because it's about high quality content is what gets you noticed, not just having a bunch of random content.